here yesterday and spending a number of hours. I think Sec Rex was here for 7 hours, I think, no? So thank you po for being here again. Maraming salamat, and we'd like to welcome our friends who are here talking about our feeding program, no? So we are here to resume the hearing on the proposed bills amending for the purpose Republic Act 11037, otherwise known as the Masustansyang Pagkain para sa Batang Pilipino Act. Senator Kiko, good morning.
Good morning.
For the record, we will be discussing Senate Bills 87, 219, 431, 902, 1145, 1192, 1207, 1212, 1312, 1375, and 1471. The Committee on Basic Education, joint with the Committee on Local Government, Committee on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, and Committee on Finance conducted its first hearing on September 11, 2025. So good morning again to everyone. We're calling this hearing to order. Muli po nagpapasalamat tayo sa mga bisita mula sa maraming iba't ibang grupo na kakampi at kasangga natin sa pagtugon sa krisis sa edukasyon. Dahil po sa suporta nyo at sa paglaban natin para sa estudyanteng Pilipino, nadagdagan po ang pondo para sa school-based feeding program sa ating bansa. Unang-una, mula 120 days, naging 200 days na merong pagkain ng ating mga estudyante. That in itself, dear colleagues, is already a huge reform that the committee has pushed and that the Committee on Finance has accepted. Ngayon po, bago po magtapos ang National Children's Month, babalikan natin ang estado ng nutrisyon ng ating mga kabataan. Noong September, in our first hearing, pinag-usapan po natin ang nakakabahalang statistika ng stunting sa ating bansa. Ayon po sa EDCOM, 26.7% of Filipino children under 5 years old are stunted. Over 1/4 ng mga kabataan po under 5 years old are stunted. Pag stunted po ang isang bata, mahina ang kanilang katawan at kakayanang matuto. Pag hindi po natin mabibigyan ng matimbang na atensyon, maaapektuhan din po ang kanilang kakayahang magtrabaho at pag-asang magkaroon ng maayos na kinabukasan. Ibig sabihin, isa sa bawat 4 na kabataan ay hindi na po matatamo ang kanilang tunay na potensyal dahil po sa stunting, magiging matamlay po ang kanilang kinabukasan. Kaya ngayong umaga, pakinggan po natin ang report mula po sa DSWD at NNC tungkol sa mga programa ng ating gobyerno para sa nutrisyon, para sa first 1,000 days at supplemental feeding program ng ating kabataan. And again, we'd like to thank Secretary Rex for being here today. Bago po yun, nais rin po natin bigyang diin kung gaano kahalaga ang nutrisyon sa early childhood o mula 0 to 5 years old sa edukasyon at kinabukasan ng kabataan Pilipino. Una po, mahalaga ang tamang nutrisyon sa physical and cognitive development ng kabataan. Alam naman po nating lahat kapag may tamang nutrisyon ng isang bata, mas matalas ang kanilang pag-iisip. Malakas ang mabubuong neural pathways at nakakatulong po ito sa wika, sa memorya, sa atensyon, at sa problem-solving skills. Ayon po sa EDCOM, pag sinigurado natin ang tamang nutrisyon ng mga bata mula sa first 1,000 days hanggang sa 5 years old, sisigurado rin natin ang long-term learning capacity nila. Ibig sabihin, pag may tamang nutrisyon ng bata mula 0 to 5, mas malakas ang kakayahang nilang makaangat siya sa buhay dahil may kakayanang siyang matuto. Pangalawa po, mahalaga ang nutrisyon sa early childhood para mapigilan ang stunting. Bukod po sa school-based feeding, mahalaga rin na matutukan natin ang nutrisyon sa early childhood dahil nandito po ang highest incidence ng stunting. Sa totoo lang po, in the EDCOM report and in the 10-year education plan that we will be releasing, nakalagay po doon kung gaano kahalaga ang nutrisyon sa ating mga kabataan. And I realized in the last EDCOM hearing that a lot of our efforts are focused on the school-based feeding program. In fact, we're increasing the budget of the school-based feeding program by 19 billion, if I'm not mistaken, or 16 billion. 16 billion. Definitely a huge amount towards addressing the problem of stunting. Kaya lang po, in that hearing, lumabas rin na yung 0 to 5 actually, kailangan na nating maagapan. Kasi baka nga po, maganda yung school-based feeding program natin, pero pagpasok naman ng mga kabataan, stunted na, ay hindi naman masasayang, pero hindi magiging kasing bisa ang school-based feeding program kung yung mga batang papasok ay stunted na. So, definitely, mahalaga na meron din tayong focus dito sa 0 to 5 years old. And during the EDCOM hearing, we were looking around the room and we had TESDA, we had DepEd, we had CHED, we didn't have the SWD to talk about the programs that you're doing for the 0 to 5 years old. So, at that hearing, sabi ko, magandang magtawag tayo ng emergency hearing just to be able to discuss this para makita natin kung sapat na ba yung ating pagpondo at yung mga programa natin para sa mga 0 to 5 years old. Now, I also understand na yung daycare and yung pagbibigay ng pagkain through the daycare centers is relatively new compared to the school-based feeding program. Nag-iisang dekada na mahigit pa ang school-based feeding program. But the DSWD program is relatively new. So we also want to know how we can support, how we can help, ano yung mga potential obstacles, ano yung mga potential problems natin, and how can we truly have a robust 0 to 5-year-old feeding program para matugunan po natin yung stunting. And SECREX, in the EDCOM 2, extension of EDCOM 2 bill, we amended it to include DSWD in EDCOM 2. So when that bill is passed, probably in a few weeks, we will welcome you in EDCOM because we realize that the first KPA on nutrition, hindi lang po DepEd ang may responsibilidad kung hindi DSWD din. So we would welcome you there, but in the meantime na hindi pa pasado yung batas pong yun, we're having this hearing to discuss further kung paano po tayong pwedeng magtulungan to address stunting in our country. So mga kasama, inaasaan po natin na pag-amend ng 11037, matutugunan po natin ang talamak na issue ng stunting sa ating bansa. Ang hangarin po natin, isang Pilipinas kung saan ang mga bata ay busog, malusog at handang matuto. Habang unti-unting nilalantad ang mga issue at problema sa ating gobyerno, mas nagiging klaro na kabilang ang mga kabataan sa mga apektado. Hindi lang pagkakataon ang ninanakaw sa ating kabataan, nananakaw rin yung kinabukasan nila at ng ating bayan. Kaya para po sa amin, pondohan natin ang mga programang makakatulong talaga sa kabataan, tanggalan natin ng pondo ang mga programa o mga proyekto na posibleng magdulot lang ng korupsyon. Ang panawagan po ng aming komite, edukasyon, hindi korupsyon, at kasama po dito ang pagbibigay ng tamang nutrisyon sa ating mga kabataan. Maraming salamat. Senator Kiko, do you have an opening statement?
Yes, thank you, Senator Bam. This hearing actually is a joint hearing of both the Basic Education Committee as well as the Committee on Agriculture, Public Works, and Ways and Means. The reason why we filed the measure of libreng almusal, which after the first hearing, I think it should now be libreng pagkain or free meals, because hindi lang naman almusal ang schedule ng ating mga kabataan, is a significant component of the measure that we are proposing is sourcing the supply of the food, which we believe, if it is to be nutritious as well as fresh, then locally sourced food items should be a component of the nutrition program. And that's why in the measure that we had proposed, up to 50% of the feeding programs in schools as well as in daycare centers, wherever possible, should be sourced sa local farmers and fisherfolk, which is why it blends well with the Sagip Saka Act, wherein purchases by national and local governments of agriculture products directly from farmers and fisherfolk are exempted from public bidding. And it's interesting, after our first hearing in September 1, we had worked on the approval of the GPPB resolution on Sagip Saka, which was hanging for 3 years, and the two twin EOs, EO 100, which was issued by the President, and EO 101, also with respect to implementing purchase of palay by local and national governments through a minimum floor price, that's 100, EO 100, and direct full implementation of the Sigip Saka Act, which is EO 101. And that's why ASEC Joycel Panlilio is here. She is the head of the Sagip Saka desk or Sagip Saka office under the Department of Agriculture. So with the DepEd, with the DSWD, with the DA, all coming together to provide nutritious, healthy food for our children is important. If I may stress, and I also mentioned this to Secretary Rex, and that's why DA is also critical, is because yes, we may, the law is there, but my experience when I was in the private sector organizing our farmers and fisher folk is that the capacity of our farmers to be able to provide the supply is is a major challenge. The weakest link actually in this food supply chain is not the market, it's not logistics, it's not the local governments or the national government entities involved in the supply chain, but it's really the farmers and the fisher folk. So you may have about 14 billion pesos worth of food purchases, but if the farmers and the fisher folk are not capacitated, then the supply will be inconsistent, and the bulk again will go to traders who are able to provide consistency in supply. And so the DA will really have to step up. And just for the information, and that's why we will seek the support of Senator Bam here, the twin bills that we are also going to be sponsoring before the end of the year would be the extension service renationalization for the Department of Agriculture and the return or re-establishment of the Bureau of Agriculture Co-ops to be under the Department of Agriculture, amending the CDA law as well as among others. No? So yun lang, for purposes of moving forward, we hope a capacitated farmer and fisher folk sector will be able to supply all, most, if not all, of the requirements at local level. That is what we envision with this proposed measure. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Senator Kiko. So just to remind everyone, no, we're going to focus on the first 1,000 days and the 0 to 5 feeding program. No, we'll ask EDCOM to give a brief presentation just to share with everyone the research that they've done on this. Then we'll ask DSWD. Of course, SecRex can choose whoever he wants to present. ECCD. Who will be presenting for ECCD? Yes, Mr. Sabalsa. And then DILG. Is that Attorney Sala? Yes. Sige, let's keep the presentations brief so we can have an open discussion. Si ASEC Roger can just jump in kung ano. May kinalaman po ba ngayon ng DepEd dun sa first 1,000 tsaka 0 to 5? Wala, no? Wala, no? It's really a handoff to you. Okay, so maybe later as a resource person, you can also speak, ASEC Roger, no? Sige po, let's start with ED Carol.